Hey there, I'm Alan Furstenberg.
And I'm Alice Keeler.
And we are Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Oh my God, Alice, we are back here at Google Cloud Next. It's been so amazing. We're on day 2.
Day 2.
What's been your feeling about this all so far?
Oh, this has been so energetic. Just as we were going to the keynote, I could just feel this electric vibe. This is my favorite event all year. It's where we're rolling out these new ideas of all the things that we're going to be able to do.
You know, that's always the fun part. And I think this year, the way they were kind of talking about it and presenting it is really from like a bottom up.
Yeah.
And all the changes that kind of built on each other, one after another, after another, after another.
Yeah,
and I think that's a great way to kind of look at it. And some of that for us, this started at literally the night before Next.
Yeah, the night before Next. Little shout out to Asrar. Thank you.
Thank you, Asrar. This has been fantastic. We were able to see the new TPU model that
TPUs. Got to go with the S on there. That's
TPUs,
new.
That's true.
That's a big deal.
They released 2 new TPUs this year, the TPU 8 models.
Yeah.
So what was your take on that event and what we saw there?
Well, the event was incredible. You had all of these people there excited to learn about what's new with the future of AI. And AI just is going to be everywhere, so we need the computing power. And so last year we released Ironwood, and that was super exciting. No one likes something that's lagging, am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what kills your project is the lag. And now we are 10xing it, but it's not just the 10x and the number of flops and how fast it is, but it's this new approach. These really are thinking about agents and designing a chip for agents.
Right, and we'll get to this. I think one of the things I found great, like I said, that's up the level a bit.
It's up the level.
One of the things that I thought was great about the TPUs and their approach to it was saying that, you know, with these 2 TPUs, they were designed for 2 completely different operations.
No, I love that idea.
So we have the 8T for training and the 8I for inference. So they can deploy 8Is to like make the future Gemini models run faster, but they can also use the T model to train the future Gemini models more efficiently, you know, using less power, using less coolant, just doing it better and faster. And thus,
more efficient,
giving us the better models cheaper.
It's amazing.
And that's wonderful. And then building on that, we have the models.
Yep.
And I think the interesting thing this year for me is that there were no new models announced. You know, we're not seeing a Gemini 3.5. We're not seeing a Gemini 4.
That's tomorrow.
No, we're reasonably. Next week, maybe. I/O, maybe.
Maybe.
But,
you know, but I did talk to many people that while they didn't roll out a new model, it was new to them.
That's
fair. The Lyra 3 is 3.1.
Yeah, Lyra 3.
I've had access to it as a beta tester, and it's just like I've been really excited. But then to see these other people like super excited, I'm like, oh yeah, this is new.
This is new. This is great to play with, and there's still the partnering with Anthropic, the partnering with the hundreds and hundreds of models that are available in the model garden. You know, I feel like this really drives home the point that Google has one of the best models out there with Gemini.
Absolutely, but you know, they have an incentive to keep being the best model.
Right.
It's about the platform, and the platform's driving the power. And yeah, Gemini's winning, and it's going to keep winning because they got some competition.
Right, but also it's the model that you need. You know, do you need that? Do you need that Anthropic model? You got it. You can use it.
Yeah.
On Google's cloud platform with all of their security
code and everything. You know,
exactly.
Cursor.
Yeah.
And that's welcome here. I love that.
So they're still partnering with Anthropic and others. They're still delivering that on the safety of Google Cloud's agentic platform. And I think that kind of brings us to the next big change, and that was this platform that we used to know as Vertex AI. Yeah. You know, it had the model garden, it had all of these things, a brand new name. And I'm still wrapping my head around it.
I'm still wrapping my head around it. You know, this is what I talked about in 23 when I was part of the keynote. Is Vertex AI was my thing, and now I'm like, oh, we're rebranding. But we're rebranding better. There's a reason that we're bringing this together because there's more collaboration. So it's really a new idea.
And I think that's it. So it's been rebranded as the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. I think I got that right.
Yeah.
GEAP, the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. And I feel like what we've been hearing is this notion that you have AI Studio, and this is where you can get started in AI Studio.
Yeah.
And then as you're building more and more complicated things, and as you are building and you need these additional tools, that's where you start moving to the enterprise, and the agent platform has all of that stuff for you. So they've kind of moved from, we used to focus on the model.
Yeah.
Gemini is the focus. Now we're looking at what tools do we need beyond the model to make good, successful agents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to just end that, because I love how this also is really being more inclusive with the Workspace platform and just really making it more accessible to everyday users. We're here as developers, but I mean, we're all developers. But really, it really runs that home, is that we really are all developers to make it something that everybody is going to be able to use.
Exactly.
That's the most exciting part for me.
So it's really exciting to see, for developers, things like, we have a full agent runtime core. We have the agent platform. We have this great concept, which I so want to learn more about, that they're calling agent identity.
Yeah.
Where agents now essentially have, what is this agent and what can it do? What is it permitted to do?
Yeah.
This whole notion of an agent has an identity and policies and permissions around it. And then these agents will live in an agent registry. And this has been one of our huge complaints over time is, it's great. We have these agents, floating around out there.
They are floating around.
But how do we find them?
Right.
How do we, we know how to connect to them, but how do we find them in the first place? And how are they connected to each other? And how do we make sure they're working correctly with observability? And all of this is now coming together under the agent runtime. And that's pretty exciting to me.
That is exciting.
And then we have more and more tools like MCP.
Yeah. I've heard about it, but it wasn't really coming to life to me until I heard you explain it in a way that I am so excited to learn about MCP.
So you as a developer, you're familiar with APIs, right?
Absolutely.
So MCPs are kind of like APIs for agents.
Okay.
It's the set of instructions. It's structured in a way that an agent knows how to communicate with the service. And Google has recently basically said they're releasing MCPs for everything in Google now.
Yeah.
So, there is an MCP server that Google runs. So it's got the security, it's got authentication, it's got everything behind
Security is built in.
Built in for Drive, for calendar, for email. So, if you want your agent to send email as you, there's an MCP tool for that.
Amazing.
And it's there, and Google's built in the security and the authentication and all of the rules, and it's just there for you to use. And this is now, we're seeing it across everything. So if you are deploying stuff on Cloud Run, there's an MCP server. If you are talking to email or calendar, there's an MCP server. And this kind of goes into the next level up, so that applications are now there. So the Gemini Enterprise app, which is equivalent to a Gemini chat agent, it now has access to all of these agents that it finds in the agent registry.
Right.
It has access to the MCP tools that your administrator has permitted you to. So from Gemini, you can now just say, go look at my calendar, or go look at someone else's calendar if you're permitted to do so, and find a good time where we can schedule 30 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
And that's just a conversation that you're now having, because Gemini knows what tools are out there that it can use.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been beta testing some of those features, and to see that it's now live for everybody, it is so helpful. It just has this intelligence about you that you just don't have to explain it.
Right.
It just gets you.
And it's, I'll admit, in some ways it's kind of scary to just kind of say, sure, it has access to all my email. That's a little scary, So
See, I see it a different way. Like, Google's always had access. It's a Google Workspace platform. But now they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it's really just strengthening up all of my bits and pieces and coming to say, like, hey, we're working smarter for you.
Right. I feel like Google is the first ones that are saying, let's put this MCP server in a place where administrators can control the access.
Yeah.
So if an administrator is concerned about agents sending email without checking, okay, then the administrator can control that. And that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
That the right level of control against our agents. And again, this goes back to the agent registry and the agent identity and all of these good things that I can taste, and I want to dive into them. But there's so much to dive into.
Yeah, but then, there's other people here who are listening who are like, wow, this feels so over my head. Agent. Like, really, how do I get started? So I really love this feature that probably most people haven't even heard of because it was kind of a sleeper program, and then they've rebranded it.
Of course they have, because this is Google. And why keep a perfectly good name when we can rebrand it?
So the good news is you don't have to get used to a new name. We're just talking about Workspace Studio. Have you tried Workspace Studio?
I have not tried Workspace Studio yet. So tell us a little bit about it.
I'm really excited about Workspace Studio because even though I do code in Google Apps Script and I'm able to connect up with the Gemini API and do a lot of things, where do you really get that step into agents, and how do agents become accessible just to the regular user? So it used to be called Workspace Flows. You create this workflow by selecting drop-downs. So I did one the other day where it's like, okay, I have a Google form, and when someone fills out this form, I want Gemini to craft an appropriate response and then create a draft. I didn't want it just sending the email out for me. So my step was in Gmail to create a draft response to what I had filled out in this form. So I'm just collecting data throughout my day that I can't deal with right now. And I probably will forget later. But since I have this flow or this workflow that's in there, but it's literally as easy as just, I have a Google form, select the form you want, and then I wrote a prompt, but it's in a Gemini chat. So it understood what I meant, even though maybe my description wasn't that good. I was really impressed.
One of the great things that I see over and over are people saying, look, you need to write a prompt, but ask Gemini to help you write that prompt.
I do that every day.
That's a fantastic tip for people.
I feel like I'm a good prompt writer, but
it always comes out with, it enhances it in some ways, yeah.
And sometimes after I'm doing my whole conversation, I'm like, give me the prompt I should have used. And just kind of help myself, and I'll say,
So we've seen a lot of stuff. We've only been here 2 days. Everything you've seen so far, and we had a couple of days earlier as GDEs and a GDE summit. Everything you've seen so far, what are the things that have most excited you?
I mean, what excites me the most is just bringing agents and bringing Google Workspace to people, to everybody, that it really feels like last year was, hey, we have these agents. Here's all the technical ways to get to it.
And we're still trying to figure it out.
And we're still trying to figure it out. And then this year just feels like we've really just brought this together. Like, this is it. This is what we're doing. And it's really reshaping for everybody.
Yes.
Collaboration amongst even ourselves within our own documents, but with our teams, and allowing us to develop those efficient solutions that really requires that 8 TPUs.
Along those lines, it really gets into the point where anyone can build anything.
Yeah.
These agents really are for anyone. We've been doing app script for ages.
Yeah.
And last year, when you and I chatted at Next and you introduced yourself, you were like, I learned this stuff because it was easy and it helped me automate things. And now I feel like they're saying anybody can do that automation.
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can.
I mean, I just vibe code all of
Yeah.
it now. I mean, literally, if you can describe what you want, not only can you have that script, but you can have an agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, some of the fun things that I've seen are those additional agents that let people do neat stuff. It's some of it's little technical pieces that aren't making the big headlines, but it's the little new models. It's talking about Gemma 4. It's talking about Lyria 3. It's talking about new embedding models. It's all of these little things that just make things work better.
So much better and more creative.
Yeah.
Like when they came out with that in Gemini that I can create music, I'm like, why would I want to do that? But you know what? I am doing it all the time. It's just, wow, I have these options I just never had before.
But speaking of creating things, last year when we were at Next, we talked about the day zero event that we had.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
So
I have just been like so in awe for the whole year. I've been dying to do this. Last year they showed us the making of the Wizard of Oz. So Google Cloud.
For Sphere.
For the Sphere. Yeah.
Which is this
Google Cloud
huge,
partnered with the Sphere to bring it to life. So they showed us some little snippets. And so I'm like, oh, I just really want to go this year. Shout out to Asrar.
Again, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we got to see it.
We got to see it.
We were a part of a small group that was able to go and see the show itself. What do you think?
I mean, what Google Cloud is able to do to bring what was, film like this that's 100 years old into full pictures. I mean, they didn't have feet maybe when they're shooting it like this, but in the full Sphere, they got to add that.
It's incredible watching scenes that were tiny and shot from the waist up, and now seeing the whole thing. It's just amazing.
It's just so immersive. And, at the Sphere, the seats are going to
The seats are vibrating, and, the apples are falling on you.
It's a full-on experience.
And the tornado scene is amazing.
And just the wizard, you're looking out, you can't even see it. And then you just look up, and it is spectacular. And that was generated with Google Cloud.
It was.
Yeah.
And I think the point that we made last year, and I think it's true again this year, what Google Cloud brings to the table is this ability to do things from small and simple, and anyone can, get their simplest tasks done, to the massive computing power that TPUs 8T and 8I are bringing to the table to do amazing rendering like
Our
that.
trip to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were talking
Gemini was part of that.
Yeah. So fantastic stuff. There was so much going on. We're going to be talking about some of this going forward.
Yeah.
Love to hear what you think. If you've been tuning into Next, I want to hear what the exciting things were for you. How are things like agent observability and various other things that the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform bring to you? Where are you using them? You can find me on LinkedIn. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Alice Keeler. Or just Google search Queen of Spreadsheets.
And we will talk about this next year, I am sure.
I'm sure.
When we come back to Next and talk about it on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Alice, thank you again so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Alan. You're always the best.
Thank you.